And still, the greatest descendant of all time, the reigning, undefeated, undisputed First Descendant Valby is here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'm excited because, as you know, we have this Valby build that we've been working on extremely hard. And today you're going to get nothing but the best because I got you covered with everything Valby. And there's a lot of content I'm going to be doing with Valby. So make sure you tune in for that. I'm going to be breaking a lot down. She actually has so many different play styles that I won't be able to put it in one video unless it's a very long one. Before we get into the video, this is sponsored by my stream. So you can come by and enjoy yourself. I do have 2 giveaways for the community as a thank you. 2 of my favorite video games. Go in the comments. You can get a chance to win right here on this video. And good luck to anybody and everybody. Outside of that, here we go. Valby is super spectacular. I'm not going to break down every single part of her kit, but I want to get into a couple of things to give you guys just the key foundation of what she is. So I can face tank people and just have the highest crit in this game, basically almost 100% crit for like a sniper, or I can do extremely 70+ crit for other things, as well as just be a skill based player, meaning use my abilities and have DPS with the abilities. So you can do weapon DPS or skill DPS with her, and that's what makes her so spectacular. And it's why I'm saying you guys have to play her. I already demonstrated some of what she can do on my stream and in my previous video, but we're gonna just get to the nitty-gritty stuff. It's gonna be a lot of information, and I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as possible for those who are kind of not familiar with all of this information. I try to keep it somewhat user-friendly with my videos so it can be simple and straightforward. Okay, so with that out of the way, as I was explaining, you have 2 ways to play Valby. Okay, well, more than 2 ways and hundreds of ways, to be honest, but there's 2 methods in this game. There's the DPS build, where you want to make your weapon stronger, or you want to make your abilities stronger. Okay, the choice is yours on how you go about it, but it is there for the taking depending on your setup. All right, so you can see I'm doing 200k on some of those, 100k plus. So it's gonna get crazy in here. Wait until you see what I have set up, but the principle is the abilities have some amazing stuff, as well as her weapons. Okay, today's video and build, it's gonna focus on one specific mod that will let you make at least over 10 builds with it. And I'm not going to make every 10 builds. I'm just going to give you the foundation of each, and then you can go from there depending on what you like and how you like to go. This mod is called Supply Moisture. It's very easy to get and straightforward. It's not going to be something you get right away, but right in here is where I got mines in the fortress on the void mission. Okay, so you're gonna have to go over here, have chill, and you could just group up in public, and then somebody will have it and they'll end up coming down after. You'll farm this for a little while, and then you have to come over here and beat the boss multiple times. I did it almost 10 times, probably like 7 or 8 times, and then we got the drop. Okay, that's how I did it. I was on my stream, and basically Supply Moisture allows you to have critical hits on your skills and on your weapon as well. It boosts it up. Plus it gives you skill duration, but that's not a big deal. We'll figure all that out. It is incredibly important to know how this mechanic works. So the weapon damage is only when I'm on this here. As you can see, everything is pretty much critical hits. If we look at the numbers, it's at 70 right now, and once my water goes away, which is gonna go away in a second, it's gonna drop down. It went to 35. That's my normal critical hit rate. But again, if I pop the water, all I gotta do is pop this water and be in it, and you'll see that it goes up to 70. Why is this important? Because you can go crazy with critical hits on weapons. There's snipers who can 100% critical hit with. There's even handguns that can do some special things. If I went in through this here and we went back into it, I'm doing 56, and none of these weapons are maxed out. None of these weapons are kitted the way I would recommend. I have some stuff that I'm going to show you with the weapons, but the point is these are pretty much based weapons for the most part. I do have energy activators on both of these, but that's about it. But you could see the critical hit will go up on every weapon. And I tested more than half of them, but there's still a lot more to kind of experiment and play with. We're not going to get into the weapons just yet, but the principle is I want to have some type of critical hit and critical rate, all right, critical hit chance. And so I'll throw some of this to impact it. Okay, these are very important, very basic critical hits. I prefer having this if I'm making a critical hit build. Of course, I like weak points personally, and that's where I have like my different play style over here, where I focus on rapid fire and this very cool mod. But critical hits are the answers, I guarantee you. Okay, before we get into the builds and the setups, that's how that works. I don't have anything installed except for my tamer. It has 3 slots as far as crystallizations, and then of course the energy. But in this one right here, I definitely kept on mental focus. I just love hitting a weak spot, and with mental focus it just doubles up. I can break weak spots faster, but I still have some critical hit rate and damage in there. And of course I'll boost these up and continue if I start unlocking more crystallizations. All right, there's tons of stuff to get into with this, but just wanted to give you all a quick pointer of that because we're going to go into the bossing. And I'm going to delete a couple of items in here because they don't need to be in here. And this right here is all you need for bossing. You still have almost 40 extra items. But the reason I want to start with this is because if you're looking for critical hits, you're going to get it from supply moisture. All right. There's ways to enhance it. For example, of my skill duration, I want to stay in the puddles at all times. So I'm going to have that very high. And today, all these builds, I'm going to teach you more techniques and things you can do rather than just showing you the build, which you take a picture of and that's it, because this is going to be key. So as I put on the skill duration, right, all I want to do is just pop this and just pop my shots. I can get very close. I can use whatever weapon I really like and get all these critical hits. As you can see, 70% of my bullets are going to be critical hits. That's insane because I'm in the water. And so I can just keep popping this, and before the water runs out, I have another one. So basically, I'm always going to be in water just with this #1 skill ability just to pop it. Okay, so now you have a chance to make any type of weapon viable against bosses and for you to go crazy. And just so you can see, I have 64 defense. Okay, I haven't even tried to put on external components and reactors in there to master this yet. Okay, that's how hilarious this build is. And I went in and face tanked a bunch of enemies, and this right here, as you can see, is not even with anything, just the necessary pieces. All right, I want my cooldown down, 1 simple cooldown and 1 skill extension. And then, of course, defense to survive. Then a little bit of cost. And that is my starter kit for my weapon bossing. Meaning, this is for the Supply Moisture's DPS weapon setup. All right. So then all of a sudden, all of these weapons are going to go crazy. As I was saying, you know, you look at the tamer and it's sitting at 16 because I haven't modded it, but let's just go with the beautiful Thunder Cage, which kind of fits her build. 35. I do this beautiful setup, and now I'm going to sit at 70. Okay, so you want to focus on that if that's the play style and the build you want to set up. Plenty of easy things, and I'll have some detailed guides on my streams that you guys can get involved with. But then from there, I can start playing around and adding things. If it's for a boss, I want to be able to finish them as quick as possible. Sometimes people don't realize you need fire rate or rapid fire, one of the two, and you can get some fire rate here, and then you could get some firearm attack as well with these improved drive shafts or accelerated drive shafts. There's plenty of other things in here, of course, that you can try to see if it works for your playstyle, but those are some of the just buffs for offense, right? Because the way the bosses work is that you need to be able to do consistent hits or burst fire hits to be able to do some serious damage. Of course, if I'm fighting enemy with toxins, I have a lot of space. I can put on all the toxins I want. I do not need skills, okay? I know you're probably wondering, why don't I have skill critical hits? That doesn't scale with my weapon. So this is strictly for weapon bossing. So I don't need any of these. Now, if I wanted to make a quality of life of being able to do DPS with my skills strictly, again, we're going to show that in the ability in a second. There's plenty of different builds, but this is the key, and this is your starting ground. And then from here, you put on other things to buff yourself up in whatever playstyle you want. We'll get into that a little more. We're going to stay within the weapons DPS builds that you can make. And this isn't the exact build, by the way. I just put this together to give you a demonstration of one way that you could play. There's a flex spot, like this right here is a flex spot. This right here is another flex spot. I have MP collector specifically. This is for missions. If I'm running around, want to be able to get my MP up at all times and not worry about it. I have max range specifically because the more range you have, the easier life is. You can tick more enemies, and it's so good. And then of course extension, which is going to give you that duration so you can keep ticking the enemies. Remember, you're just floating around the map and making life easier. And you can do over 100k DPS with these skill, but this is strictly for the weapon version, okay? Which we're going to get into the skill one after. But then you have the cost, which is another good one. And then MP conversion for the cooldown. You're going to be able to stay consistent. I would say I can take the cost off, but again, this is quality of life for me when I'm running a hard, difficult mission. I'm able to pop my skills over and over to get the most DPS out there as possible. Okay, this is strictly for weapon mobbing, meaning that you want critical hits and you want to stay consistent out there. All right. And we'll get into more of these things in a minute, but I wanted to go down the ability mobbing. The reason I want to get into this because look, this is all I really need. I have critical hits, skill critical hit, skill critical hit. All of it is critical hits, okay? Critical hit damage or critical hits, except for the ranged, right? Now I can add things like the old school original technician, so I can multiply my damage, for example. And we're gonna go just run over these guys. Now this is all about, you want to be a show off, and this is the stuff I've been showing on the stream that I can get 100k damage. And this is right now only doing, was that 80? A lot of numbers, guys. Too many enemies in here. So that's only doing 80, but I have a lot of slots, okay? First of all, of course, I'm going to put on health. This is strictly for like when you're in a story mission and you want to run around and do your thing. You start working on how you're going to play, what you want to do. Personally, one of my favorites that actually help a lot, well, there's a couple of them, and this is where the nerdy part of us is about to come out, guys. So you have non-attribute master, which is incredible, and then focus on non-attribute. These two things are so powerful because they'll buff you up in ways you won't believe. Let's go with master very quickly so I can show you guys just a little bit of what it does and why you should put it on and things like that. So I'm gonna just put that on and then we'll check it out. Oh, wait a minute. Let's put some technique on as well. And so this is where I'm overloaded. I'm a little toxic here, but, and so I'm just going to do these two enemies so we can see their numbers. So 136k, okay? 136k. So that just shows you how ridiculous this is. Okay, so now imagine me putting all that on, which I haven't min-maxed this yet. I still have 1, 2, 3 slots ready to go, and I'm just showcasing some of the situations. I don't need all these. I can drop some of this and still be strong. Okay, but I have them because I wanted to showcase capability of what you could do as you go forward. All right, so now this isn't, of course, the build for mobbing. I like defense. Honestly, to be honest with you guys, I run defense, right? So for me, Valby has enough health to survive regular missions. I'll just throw this on, okay? And this is how I play the game. This is my biggest advice here. I throw this on, and now I'm going to be able to do heavy duty damage, 100k style damage, but I'm also tanky enough to survive. When I get to a boss, I can easily just get in here and switch this out to my boss setup and be ready to go. Okay, depends on what you want to do. Personally, this is how I like to set it up. I'll come over here for regular missions or farming, and this is all about doing heavy critical hits, and then I can jump into the boss where I focus on weapon critical hits. Then of course there's the third one, the original one that I told you guys about. I've been talking about this for 2 years, to be honest, but the mixture of both of these. Okay, so I want the weapon damage critical hits, but I also want the mobbing, and this is where I would have to sacrifice these two. For example, it's going to take up a lot of space, but if I take these two out, I can start throwing in some of the bossing elements to keep myself alive, like the HP, spear shield, and there's plenty of other things in here, guys, that I always recommend for you guys, as far as like depending on the scenario. Some of this stuff I swap out all the time. Honestly, I'm a free-to-play player, but I honestly need about 6 more slots for Valby just to be able to have every build prepped, because right now I would have to swap. As you see, I'll just start swapping pieces and put this in here, put that in there. And so this is the general setup. Now I want to talk about weapons just for a second, because we did go over it for a second. You can see I have critical hit rate and damage. These two are staples for if you're going to go for the critical hits, because you need the information that I'm about to share. I'm going to run through it very quickly to help you understand. So you're getting a decreasing the enemy's electric and non-attribute as you attack them. Okay, so this is why is that important? Well, that's going to allow you to do more damage, and then if you have the critical hits on, it's going to double and even triple some of your weapons stats, right? For the snipers, you can basically get 100% critical hit. Okay, now one thing you got to know is always take your time, don't rush it when it comes to the build. Test it out, see what you like. You're gonna get frustrated because you might need more DPS or you might need more health, and for every build you want to have that. But yeah, switching and setting up things like, for example, the non-attributes stats that I told you guys about, that to me is gonna be your staple. Being able to do non-attribute. You can also go with fusion because she does hit hard with that. It honestly depends on which skill you're using, and I forgot to mention some of that conversation in the overall setup here, but each of these have a different setup. The fusion is the one that I use the most when I'm using my weapons, because I'm able to just pop it and then shoot, right? I also use, I'm sorry, that's skill number 1, aka bubble bullet. And then second is the plop plop. This is another one that I like to use for DPS because I have a big circle that I can just run around and shoot in, and I'm throwing DPS with my weapon. Okay, but at the same time, if I'm using the skill DPS, aka the abilities, then I need this to be dimension. Okay, so remember, there's plenty of different builds you can literally make and switch it around depending on your mood. Fusion, dimension, but I love to have non-attribute on the setups, okay? And that's where the game changes, and that's how you can make the best possible build for yourself on how you want to go about it. You know, I just want to say, you know, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I've worked very hard. I mean, I still haven't finalized this, mid-maxing it or anything like that. There is a couple things that I would like to say is the ultimate is coming out in a couple weeks, maybe in a month. And if you want to wait and not invest everything like I have, that's fine. Personally, I did it because she's the most fun I've had with this game. She keeps me on the game, basically. And face tanking enemies or just using the abilities and doing all this different things has been a really great time for me. So that's why I decided. Plus, I want to make the build for you guys. And we will have the max version out soon enough. So if you're watching this, pay attention to that. Outside of that, please note that I definitely have more guides, tips, and tricks and things for this game and other stuff as well. So go ahead and check it out. I have my giveaway that's in the comments right now for you guys to enter and join and end up getting yourself hopefully something good. So enjoy that. Besides that, thank y'all so much. I hope this was as helpful as it needed to be. Just a lot of different variations on what you can do with Valby. Hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next one. Peace.